You all might want to know what made me attack Shia after our match. I had already won, but I still attacked him. And look, normally, I don't need to explain myself. Normally, I do what I do, and that's that. Well, Mexican Shia, don't take it personally. Even if I lost, I would have attacked you. I would have attacked anyone else I faced, win or lose. You were at the right place at the wrong time, and that's not your fault. But I needed to make that statement. I needed to make that statement because the rest of them won't get it. The rest of them won't understand. The Academy needs someone like me. Someone like me that is willing to do anything and everything to make sure that we rise to the top and we stay there. And being nice and playing fair and leaving the fans happy, that is not what I do. This Academy is going to be the greatest brand, the greatest promotion of all time, and it will be because not only will I be the champion, but I will be the one to lead this company to the top of the universe. Gibson, you stand in my way. Either you get down or you get laid down. Hello, everybody, and welcome to GAW Academy Stormchaser. Today, we finish the first rounds of both the men's and women's tournament. As Nitro 10 rolls on up on the main roster, we have the Stars of Tomorrow competing for that all-important one-way contract to Wednesday Night Storm. And we begin with the best one of them all right now. The number 1 seed in the men's tournament, Eddie Hernandez, taking on the number 16 seed, 1-9, Tonga. Hernandez is dangerous in his own right. Let's talk about someone else who is dangerous that we just saw to open up the show, who is, of course, Lancelot, the man who has won 6, let me do the math, 6 of his last 7 matches, and he drew the other one. This is a dangerous, dangerous man, and now he's got his eyes set firmly on Garrett Gibson and the future of GAW. Eddie Hernandez is a changed man. When you look at him at the beginning of the Stormchaser tournament, I'm talking episode 1, episode 2 of GAW Academy Stormchaser, you look at the person he was, and he was known to many as vicious, ruthless, backstabbing, and wholly dangerous because he was willing to break any rule in order to win. And now, fast forward, Eddie Hernandez is the ultimate Academy prospect, a man who is changing the game. And there's no doubt that Eddie Hernandez is changing the game. The way that we look at the GAW Academy these days is completely different than we ever have before, and a big part of that, a big reason for that, is Eddie Hernandez. Talks so much about the GAW Academy being home. He's inspired so many of the wrestlers here in the Academy, and that's a big reason why we look at it so differently. Hernandez from the top rope with a big diving double foot stomp, and now Hernandez crawls back, makes the first cover of the match. Tonga kicks out at 2. Hernandez almost had this thing won in a real hurry. You can see the massive size of Tonga, but if you ever need more proof that size isn't everything in professional wrestling, just look at Tonga's run so far in the Stormchaser tournament. 1-9, 11 points. It's tied him for the worst record, the lowest point total of anyone in the tournament. He got the unenviable task of fighting Eddie Hernandez, who is 10-0, and now Hernandez with a big spinning knee strike. Hernandez is all over Tonga in this match, drags him into the middle of the ring. Hernandez to advance. Tonga kicks out. What Tonga lacks in developed wrestling skill, he certainly makes up for with pure size, but you need a little bit more than that to succeed given the talent we have here in the Academy. Hernandez now going up top. Hernandez, speakeasy. Eddie Hernandez has ran through the 400-pounder, and Eddie Hernandez is heading to the quarterfinals. Eddie Hernandez just absolutely runs straight through the 400-pound Tonga. And look at this, Hernandez offering a handshake to the big man. Good for them. That is the respect that Eddie Hernandez is commanding these days in GAW. Well, Eddie Hernandez needs an opponent, and we are going to find that opponent for the quarterfinals here in this match. Entering first is Scott Danielson, the former GAW Academy champion. He lost that title to Garrett Gibson a couple months ago, and instead of just setting his sights on getting that championship back, as we would expect, Danielson instead has really reevaluated himself and how he is in the ring, and has in a lot of ways turned his tournament around. It looked like he was heading for the bottom of the Stormchaser table, but he really turned things around to get to the number 8 seed here, only going back on tiebreaker because Lancelot, of course, joined the competition late. So Danielson, don't let his seed fool you. This guy is for real.
How did you find a way to run from the city of the sun? You could have stayed, it's only over when.
Here's a guy who promised a turnaround, and it wasn't as successful as he might have hoped, but still, Stefford Drummond is in a pretty solid position here. Drummond promised that he would go undefeated the rest of the Stormchaser tournament. That was back in week 4, I think, of the round robin competition. It didn't so much shake out that way, but 4-6 record, nothing to shake a stick at, and now Stefford Drummond is 1 win away from facing the GAW Academy's most famous prospect. These are two guys that in a lot of ways are trending up, maybe Danielson more so than Stefford Drummond, but certainly Danielson has been looking every bit of the man that won the GAW Academy Championship before the Stormchaser tournament. He was the champion coming in, and so he did not ingratiate himself to all of us now watching the Academy for the first time when he started off immediately with a loss to Garrett Gibson. That's what allowed Gibson to take over number 1 contendership. They ended up facing in a one-on-one match outside of the tournament. Gibson beat him there for the title. Ever since then, Danielson has really figured himself out in a big way, and he's not really associating really spear from Danielson. Really, the Hernandez brothers in general have kind of parted ways for the most part. Now Eddie Hernandez now doing his own thing, as I said, probably the most famous prospect in the Academy. Of course, Scott Danielson here. Ulysses Sky, we just saw him embroiled in a fight with Leiter this past episode. We have yet to hear from Leiter after that. Drummond now going for the cover here. Danielson kicks out. The reward for the winner of this match is, of course, Eddie Hernandez. Hernandez, who remains undefeated in the Stormchaser tournament, 11-0 now that you count his win over Tonga, a dominant win over a man that large. That's nothing to shake a stick at. Stefford Drummond might have been looking for the get a job. Danielson fights him off, but eats a snap DDT. Danielson, boot to the gut. Scott Danielson now could have Stefford Drummond in trouble. Blade Runner from Scott Danielson. And now Danielson shoots the half, and Drummond kicks out. That's a big move that Stefford Drummond just kicked out of, but that's what you get for really controlling most of the match the way Drummond has done. Danielson, though, looking to get his way back into this thing. 2 big drop kicks, ducks the lariat, comes off the rope, and a running crossbody from Danielson. Beautifully done from the former champ, and now a belly-to-belly. Danielson's really taken this match over. Drummond seems stunned at the ease at which Danielson was able to get back into this thing. It looked like we could have had 2 very quick matchups after what Hernandez did to Tonga. Now Stefford Drummond introduces Scott Danielson to the business end of a turnbuckle pad. I say it every time, that's not an introduction that I'd like to be a part of. But now Stefford Drummond lifts up Danielson. Get a job! And Drummond looking to derail the former champion's momentum. Yes, Stefford Drummond is moving on. That is a big win for OSHA's least favorite son. And Stefford Drummond, the man who wasn't even supposed to be here, the man who lost a qualifying match to even get into the academy, now finds himself in a situation where he will be matching up with GAW's most famous prospect. Drummond versus Hernandez. That's going to be quite a match. I can't imagine the fireworks that we might see in that one. But good for Stefford Drummond, and for Scott Danielson, and maybe back to the drawing board for the former champ. Coming up next, we have the current GAW Women's Academy champion, Lazara. She has not been on the best run of form lately herself. She says it's due to Eddie Hernandez and the talk around the GAW Academy in general, but she's still here, willing to fight. She's in action. We really haven't seen much of the Japanese sword Katana, and that is a shame because Katana is a terrific, terrific talent. She is a former GAW Academy champion in her own right, a 4th degree black belt in karate, and she brings that style into her matches. It makes for a very, very fun experience, in my opinion, but she really dug herself a hole early on, lost a few matches in the Stormchaser tournament, and now finds herself in a position where she has to beat the current Academy champion, Lazara, in order to move on. Lazara has been in a very, very unique situation, and she's been open about that at times. The fact that, you know, she coming into this was maybe the favorite to win this tournament, given the fact that she is, of course, the current champion, as I've mentioned, and as you can see. But her mentality, as the tournament has gone on, seeing what Eddie Hernandez has done and the way that people have reacted, she has been open with the fact that she no longer knows if winning this tournament is even her goal anymore. All she said is, all she knows is she doesn't want to leave. This is her home, the way that Eddie Hernandez has said that it is. And so she doesn't want to leave the way that Hernandez doesn't want to leave, the way that many, it seems, don't want to leave. And so it's put Lazara in a very, very unique position as a woman who is a predominant favorite to win this competition, but could easily suffer a loss at any time. The winner of this match will take on Kristen Sakamoto, who upset Yamamoto last episode of Stormchaser. That was a fantastic match, by the way, and an absolute shocking result. So Kristen will get the chance to fight either Lazara or Katana, and as I say, on paper, you're looking at this saying Lazara comes in at 5-1-1. Katana is 1-6 in the Stormchaser tournament. So, you know, what competition really is there going to be? But as I say, the mental state of Lazara calls into question whether or not she's going to be here for this match. Katana now into an armbar, going back on that traditional martial arts experience that she's got. Lazara, though, has a little bit of experience of her own. I mentioned, of course, Katana's background as Lazara drops her down legs first. I mentioned Katana's background. Lazara, if you didn't know, is the sole student of GAW legend Lita, the woman who has been champion for more days than anyone else in the history of general admission wrestling. She took Lazara under her wing at a very early age. Lazara was a former NWA women's champion, and then after hooking up with Lita, she has been one of, if not the most dangerous competitors in the GAW Academy. Katana now employing another submission, camel clutch here from the Japanese sword, wrenching back on it. Lazara able to free up the grip and a double leg takedown. Lazara with a Uranagi. And of course, Lazara, we saw her make history at Nitro 10. Big clothesline from Lazara. She made history at Nitro 10. She took on Queen Alexia, making her debut. Alexia is one of the top prospects in the world right now. Extremely raw, and Lazara really took her to school as Lazara. Where I've been. Lazara's been just about everywhere, and now she's going to the semifinals. Despite the mental state of Lazara, despite the fact that she is going through some doubt right now about herself and her position, despite all that, Lazara is headed to the semifinals. We don't always see her break out the Where I've Been. Of course, we know her most famously for the Make My Fortune, but she's got a lot of moves at her disposal. That's just one of them. Lazara's moving on. We've got one final women's match to get to. GAW's hottest young rookie, Caitlin Dunlap. But first, we got to move back over to the men's side. The bracket is nearly complete, and the Oni King, Oliver Parker, is in action. Lee Carr, the only native of China here in the GAW Academy. He is the first and only in the history of this academy, and we're very happy to have him here. He is nicknamed the Firework. I'm sure you can see why. He is an underground fighting legend. He's rumored to be the only man to beat the late, great Kimbo Slice. So that's a bit of his background, and it makes him, of course, an incredibly dangerous man. But he's still figuring it out as a professional wrestler. Just a handful of matches under his belt. He was making his debut in the GAW Academy, and now he's being really thrown into the fire, out of the frying pan into the fire, as they say, against Oliver Parker. The last time we saw the Oni King, he was beating Eddie Hernandez at Nitro 10, a feat that very few men have ever accomplished, and a feat that no one has accomplished in the Stormchaser tournament, as we just saw Eddie Hernandez move on. So Parker hopes to use that momentum to pick up a win here over the always dangerous Lee Carr. Before we get to the match, I want to draw your attention, as much as it pains me to see the way that the relationship between Jackal and La Tortuga Roja has absolutely fractured. I do have to draw your attention to this, what appears to be vandalism on the car of La Tortuga Roja, and we can only guess that Jackal is responsible. The man has not been seen since attacking Roja backstage after all matches have been completed last episode of Stormchaser. But we can at least surmise that that vandalism is probably his handiwork. Parker with a rising knee strike, and Lee Carr, you know, these are two guys that are coming basically from completely different backgrounds, and they're in completely different stages of their wrestling careers. Carr going for the cover, Parker kicks out. Carr was making his academy debut at the beginning of the Stormchaser tournament. He had, as I say, only a handful of matches before that, so almost his entire background is in the underground fighting scene, whereas Oliver Parker is a fully trained and developed professional wrestler. Quick Kawada kicks from Lee Carr. Oliver Parker, I've talked a lot about him, so if you don't know, well, get to know him. He is the only American ever to be considered Dragon Gate Trueborn, meaning that he was trained and developed in professional wrestling entirely in the Dragon Gate Academy. They accept very, very few Americans, and up until Oliver Parker, they accepted none who had no previous pro wrestling training. So Parker trained there, one of the most highly renowned dojos in the world. After that, he graduated, went into Dragon Gate, and opened the Brave Gate champion, one of few Americans to ever hold gold in that promotion. Parker dragging Carr in the middle of the ring, going for the cover. Carr kicks out. So what you're seeing here from Oliver Parker is a fully formed professional wrestler, as they say. This is Oliver Parker in his final form. Lee Carr is very much still training. There's no doubt about that, as Parker drops him with a face buster. Parker does have a background, of course, in mixed martial arts as well. Former Pancrase welterweight champion. The potential matchup in the quarterfinals is incredibly enticing, as Parker, with the patience, hits Lee Carr with the Brave Gate. And Parker now right back in. I think he's looking for Trueborn. But Carr was able to position his body. Parker tried to take him down with that top wrist lock. Carr able to work his way out of it. And Carr, after being hit with the Brave Gate, that could have been the end of the road for Lee Carr. Yet here he still is. The potential quarterfinal matchup is, of course, Oliver Parker versus Andrew Wesley, two men who have had a rivalry basically since they were born. And they have locked up on several occasions all over the world, looking for another Brave Gate, but Lee Carr answers with a lariat. Lee Carr manages to stay alive in this match, and now Carr looking for the green out, but Oliver Parker able to work his way out. Front chancery, now single arm takedown into a Fujiwara armbar. Referee calls for a rope break. We'll see Andrew Wesley take on Flyboy in the 6-11 matchup in the main event of this show. Of course, still to come after this is the final match in the first round of the women's tournament. We'll see Caitlin Dunlap take on Martina Del Sol. But potentially huge implications here for that Parker-Wesley matchup. Carr gets the elbow up to the face of Oliver Parker and immediately busts his nose. You can see the blood already streaming down the face of Parker as Carr. Wow, Carr levels Parker. Now Parker up against the bottom rope. Lee Carr taking aim. Carr with a green out over the bottom rope. And Lee Carr makes his way back in the ring. Lee Carr going for the biggest upset of the tournament. Oh! Lee Carr. Lee Carr with the biggest upset of the Stormchaser tournament. The firework. Wow. Wow, the fan, it's almost stunned silence at this point. And look at Parker. Parker is inconsolable here after this absolutely shocking result. this is why we love tournaments, isn't it, folks? A result that no way anyone saw it coming. Lee Carr beating Oliver Parker. And you know what? That's exactly what the Stormchaser tournament is about. That's exactly what the GAW Academy is about. Parker coming off a win over Hernandez at Nitro, and maybe that took a lot out of him. Maybe he just wasn't focused, but Lee Carr heading to the next round. But let's quickly transition over to this match because we could have a potential upset in the making here. Caitlin Dunlap coming off a grueling bout with Asuka at Nitro 10. Meanwhile, Martina Del Sol, former NWA Women's Champion, a former Olympian. This woman is as dangerous as they come.
Prima donna girl, yeah, all I ever wanted.
Dunlap back here looking her old same self. She battled the legendary Women's World Champion Asuka at Nitro 10. And she came up just short in that bout, but it really spoke so highly of Dunlap and the Academy and just how talented all of these wrestlers are, how able they are to compete with the best of the best, and Asuka certainly is the best of the best. But now Dunlap trying to make sure that she doesn't follow Oliver Parker and get herself an early exit from this tournament. We'll see if Dunlap is still focused fighting against Martina Del Sol. So, as I mentioned, Soul Food was an Olympian. She was part of the Brazilian beach volleyball Olympic team when she was just 18 years old. She competed, let me see if I can get my Olympic Games straight here. That was in Sydney when she was there. She then went on to be NWA Women's Champion, and she was part of the GAW Academy's first recruiting class. Dunlap with a couple big kicks there. And now Dunlap takes her down from behind. So Del Sol has been here longer than any other wrestler in the GAW Academy. And she has gained a whole lot of experience from that. And it suits her well. But what she didn't expect was the influx of talent that we have since seen ever since she got here. She actually has never held gold in the GAW Academy, despite the fact that she has been here for so long. And now she's in a situation where she's looking at all this incredible talent, from Lazara to here we see Caitlin Dunlap, the Sakamoto sisters, Yamamoto, and Dunlap, or Del Sol sitting here like, you know, what's going on? Del Sol, a little bit of athleticism. Beautifully done from Soul Food. The native of Rio de Janeiro sent Dunlap flying across the ring with that drop kick. Dunlap kicks out at 2. Wow, that was so beautifully done by Martina Del Sol, and now Del Sol, red eye! Oh my goodness, Martina Del Sol, Soul Food looking to pull the upset, beating Dunlap. Martina Del Sol. What a result. And that's 2 in a row who very clearly were still struggling with the after effects of their matches at Nitro 10. And the lights being that bright, the pressure being that high, there's no doubt that it affects you in some way. And it affects some competitors differently than others. So Lazara and Eddie Hernandez dealt with it beautifully, whereas Parker and Dunlap, they had some issues. It has nothing to do with them as competitors, but sometimes it just affects you differently. And is it any coincidence that Lazara and Hernandez are both 1 seeds, Dunlap and Oliver Parker were both 2 seeds? Maybe that's the difference right now. I can't say for sure. All I do know is coming up next is our main event, Andrew Wesley versus Flyboy, and after these two matches, who knows what could happen. Flyboy, we've heard him talk before. This is one of the most humble men that you will ever find in the sport of professional wrestling. He really understands what it's all about, why he's here, and what he could mean to the sport in general. So it's great to see him in a position like this. Now Andrew Wesley, the Bonesaw, now can see his way clear to a potential semifinal berth, with his blood rival Oliver Parker having been upset by Lee Carr earlier in the show. Andrew Wesley now has an opportunity. Now that's not to say that Flyboy is not as dangerous as the Bonesaw. He certainly is. All I'm saying is Wesley now coming off a win over Oliver Parker, handing Parker just his second loss in the Stormchaser tournament. Wesley is on a high right now, and so a big win here over the 4-6 Flyboy, and Andrew Wesley could be your dark horse going forward in the knockout tournament. Folks, before we are set to begin this match, we have to get backstage. We got breaking news. Caitlin Dunlap. Was it fair to make me fight after my battle with Asuka? No. Was it fair to make me come out after almost no rest? No. Am I GAW's hottest young rookie? Yes, of course. And yet here is Martina Del Sol doing this. Ugh. Bitch. And again. Stay down and understand who I am. Well, I suppose that's one way to make a statement if you're Caitlin Dunlap. Not exactly taking responsibility for that shocking loss to Martina Del Sol, but really, what else would you expect? Everything that we know about Dunlap so far. Flyboy, Northern Lights suplex with a bridge. Wesley kicks out. Wesley keeping the jacket on for this match as well. I like that jacket, so I'm not opposed to it. Flyboy with a drop toe hold, now with a knee drop onto the chest of Andrew Wesley. So you can see that that Caitlin Dunlap is taking her upset loss, I would say, a little worse than Oliver Parker is taking his. Parker, as we know, he is a wild card, he is a loose cannon, but he does respect the sport of professional wrestling, and that needs to be said, because it is a tribute to him. Parker looking for the slam, countered into a DDT by Flyboy. Well done from the former U.S. Naval Anglico. And now with a stun gun off the top rope as Flyboy rolling Senton Atomico. Beautifully done by the Australian, and now Flyboy, no. Andrew Wesley kicks out. Flyboy, a native of Sydney, Australia, moved to the United States, joined the military. Wesley going for the sliding kick. Flyboy counters, but he eats a strike from Wesley, and now Wesley hits him with that sliding kick, drops Flyboy face first into the ground, and now Wesley going for the cover. Flyboy kicks out. When Flyboy joined the Air Force, his incredible athleticism and physical acumen was very quickly recognized, and so he was put onto the elite U.S. Naval Anglicos, that is U.S. Air Naval Gun Liaison Company. That's a very elite unit in the Air Force. Of course, Andrew Wesley doesn't really care about any of that, as Wesley now perches Flyboy, bridging over the top ropes as Wesley goes up top, and Wesley drives him down with a double knees straight to the stomach. That'll drive all the air out of your lungs real fast, and now Wesley going for the cover, 2. Flyboy kicks out, 2.5. Wesley feels like he could have had it right there, but now Flyboy makes his way to his feet. Wesley Double axe handles, a pair of them, and now Irish whip. Flyboy reverse into the corner. Wesley out of the way. Flyboy eats a turnbuckle and a gamengiri. Beautifully done from the bone saw, but jumps back in. Flyboy was waiting for him. Flyboy going for the drop kick. Wesley out of the way. Elbow to the face from Flyboy. And now the Australian looking for a big, small package driver. And now normally that's followed with the small package cover. But, you know, Flyboy knows what he's doing. I'm not gonna question that, as Flyboy now tosses Wesley out of the ring, and Flyboy takes aim. He's got him in his sights. Flyboy DDT through the middle ropes. Goes the U.S. military vet. The fans loving it right now as Flyboy drops Andrew Wesley with a neck breaker. Our faithful fans here at the GAW Academy absolutely loving this match, and so am I. What a terrific contest this has been. As Wesley, oh God, this is brutal, swings Flyboy around by the neck. Referee getting close to that count. It is a 15-second count out, but these two men not going to take any chances. Wesley tosses Flyboy into the corner. We've seen a lot coming out of the corner for both of these men, as Wesley ties Flyboy up with this hold through the ropes. Knew that he couldn't use it for that long, but I think it still got the job done. Strike countered by Flyboy. Another strike tossed aside by Wesley. Wesley again whips him into the corner. Forearms to the lower back, and you can see this barrage of strikes from Wesley, followed with a poison Rana. Oh my goodness. Flyboy is the top of his head flat. I mean, he got absolutely spiked with that poison Rana from Wesley, and now Andrew Wesley into the redemption. The redemption hold here from Wesley. This modified triangle choke. Flyboy, there's just nothing he can do besides try to force breath into his lungs. Ultimately, Andrew Wesley is the one who decides to break. And could this, Wesley now rolls through west of the rising sun. He does the very thing that Oliver Parker couldn't do. He goes for the bigger move, and this time he hits it, and now Andrew Wesley, 2, 3. Andrew Wesley is headed to the quarterfinals. Oliver Parker hit the Brave Gate and did not go for the pin, instead opting to go to try to attempt the Trueborn. And of course, we know what happened to Oliver Parker after that. Meanwhile, Andrew Wesley, after this absolute slobber knocker, Wesley had the redemption locked in, broke the hold, and successfully hit west of the rising sun. And was that a little backhanded slap to Oliver Parker in his match earlier? You know Andrew Wesley was watching, because that is his opponent moving forward. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I do know that Andrew Wesley now is on the best run of form that he's been on since the Stormchaser tournament started, and now the Bonesaw looks like he could be the favorite now on the right side of the bracket. That's certainly a possibility. Wesley versus Carr, that's going to be a fun one. I mean, every match that we have coming up in the next round of the Stormchaser tournament is going to be fun, let's be real. We'll show you the brackets after the first round as they stand, and next week will come the entirety of the men's quarterfinals. You will not want to miss it, and you will not want to miss the conclusion of Nitro 10 as the biggest event of the year rolls on this channel as well. So much is going on, and as always, thank you so very much for tuning in. If you have been, subscribe. We appreciate you.